Right, good morning, guys. In case I don't see you later, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. We are live. This is the start of round three, or coming up on the start of round three. Looks like the final game just ended from round two. Did Kendall pick up that win? No, Kendall lost that game. Looks like he got outdrained in space by just enough. It was 5-2 on the scoreboard there. I think it's the game Dan was streaming over on the main channel. But hopefully we'll get some pairings here in just a second. We'll see if we can't go check out some standings in the meantime. See how everybody's been doing so far. Let's see what we got. Heat 1. Alright, so these are all the guys who won the first round. Bastion, Grady, Sean, Ricard, Mason, DDM. Some good round 1 matchups here. And now we've got some updates for round 2. Looks like Zima Whip moves to 2-0, Bastion to 2-0, Tom, Kieran, DDM picks up the win over Justin, Sean, Darren, Bjorn, Paul Myers picks up a win after losing game 1, Matt Lutz picks up a win, Gianetti over Brad, Hugh over Miguel. Alright, so round 3 should be starting soon. Looks like Kieran, Zimawit, Tom, Dave, Bastion may all be, hey, Kyle. I'm a bit quiet. Let me move my microphone a little closer to my face, see if that helps. Or maybe I'm just not yelling as loudly as them because I'm, barely awake. Alright, so let's see what we got going on. See if we got some round 3 pairings should be coming up here soon. Let me just pop into the old Slack chat and see what the other guys are planning, which games they're planning on taking. Nope, no pairings yet. Hope everybody's been enjoying the coverage so far. Thanks to Dan and Jared for. Well, I think Dan stayed up late, and I think Jared just got up really early to start doing streams this morning. It's just after 7:30 here my time, so I actually got to sleep to a normal hour. Probably only doing 1 or 2 games today. It's anniversary weekend with the missus, and since I'm playing Star Wars all day tomorrow, maybe I'll stream a game or 2 after I play tomorrow, depending on how mentally exhausted I am after playing tomorrow morning. In honor of the European-based field, though, we are going with a little Irish breakfast tea this morning. So it looks like Dan. Looks like we're gonna have the other channels. Jared's gonna be working with Ryan Surson, and then Dan's probably gonna have uh, Drew streaming with him. So once we get some pairings, hey, there we go, round three. Bastion Kieran, that should be a solid game. Zima Wit and Tom should be an excellent game. Sean and DDM should be an interesting game, just in terms of their overall matchups. Kendall gets the bye. Somebody already dropped? That's interesting. Miguel dropped, I guess, after starting 0-2. He just said, screw it, I'm going back to bed. Alright, so we got our first drop. It's not unexpected. Kyle, Brad, Matt, and Mason. James and Timo should be another good game as well. Justin and Paul, that's like a OCS playoff type game right there. May have been an OCS playoff game in sometime in the last couple of years. So definitely some interesting stuff. So and looks like people are starting to get underway here. Some interesting deck choices there. Paul on Diplo, Silverland on Map. Bastion on CCT. Obviously, Hitco Legend, Watch Your Step, ISB. Those are all the expected decks. Hunt Down V, expected deck. Watch Your Step, very expected. But nice to see we are seeing some variation here. Dingus on Shadow Collective. Solid Snake on CCT. Sean on TTO. DDM on a Hoth Careful Planning, whether that's EBO or some type of Ketwall type deck. Who knows? I'm not getting an answer, so I guess the only other option is to go onto their streams and see which games they're actually streaming. So let's see who's on the... Oh, looks like Jared's going to do the Crypto Wise game. And Dan looks like he's on the Crypto Wise game. All right, so everybody seems to want the Crypto Wise game, so I'm going to do let's do this game, but DDM and London Sean. Let's see what we got here. Okay. Thank you, Wayne. Dan just switched to the Bastion game because I guess he saw Jared's notes. Perfect. All right, so we got London Sean playing TTO starting the Death Star. And we've got DDM. He's starting a new secret base, strike planning, Walkling, which would think EBO, but you never know with him. You certainly never know what what variety it might be, or variant, probably is the better term. Uh, is it? I mean, obviously you can upload echo cards, so that would lead it more toward a Ketwall style build. We'll see what happens there. All right, so Sean's going to do a traditional start. He's going to go docking bay, puller, pull the Death Star docking bay, drop him off Jar Gerard there, get Endor Shield out. He takes Ozzel into hand and Grand Admiral Thrawn virtual. And then he plays a masterful move to take the Gik into hand, gets his first sector out, and just draws. It's always slightly nerve-wracking when you in this type of matchup. You might feel a little bit safer putting them off out here by himself. Half the time, you're usually inclined to you have Ozzel, he's free, just dump Ozzel right there with him, unless it's a virtual Ozzel. It was not. It's old school Ozzel, so he deploys for free. So you just drop him there with you just to give yourself somebody who's forfeit 5, somebody who gives you a battle destiny draw. With 8 force, I know spies can't deploy to the Death Star, but Jar Jar still can, and you never know. It could go anyway. But against if you're expecting this to be an EBO style deck, you're highly unlikely you see Jar Jar. All right, so DDM pulls 2 locations. Oh, we got speeders, so it's a pretty interesting start for him. So he took Garrison into hand. With a new secret base, but that's all I'm seeing he took. So he had the 3 sites all in his hand already. That's unusual, unless it just doesn't show you what he took. No, he took Garrison in hand from reserve deck. Yep, okay. All right, then we got old General Raikan. Hold that thought 1 second. Still had the curtain closed over the window, and the cat was sitting there trying to peek out through it, looking very sad because he really couldn't see what was going on. Alright, let's go full screen for a little bit too, now that I remember to do stuff like that. So we got Raikan in the war room, and then DDM just draws. Sean's going to pull his second sector, get that out. So certainly should be a lot of space battles in this game. There's the 3rd sector. If he can find the TTO, he can get that up and running. And Hoth is already on the table, so he doesn't even need to find his own system right away or anything like that. He can just move to Hoth. Now, Hoth is not generally a system you want to set up at for several reasons. Good morning, and thank you, Mr. Baroni. So we've got Raikan, who protects your ships from being targeted by weapons, your capitals from being targeted by weapons. EBO is usually a good mix between Star Destroyers, Starfighters, and capital ships. So that would protect them from being targeted by weapons. I don't know if he's playing a Death Star super laser, but at Hoth, at least those couldn't be shot, which gives you a little bit of a more flexibility when you're trying to battle at Hoth. You also have Haven to contend with, where, as we've seen in previous games with EBO, when you go to Hoth and then they drop a ship and then slap Haven on it and then unload their hand of like 7 more ships, it can be backbreaking the amount of power that they can just overwhelm you by. Plus 2 Battle Destiny. I mean, a Dark Side will also get 2 because of the text on the capacitors plus whatever pilots they have, but it could also get leadership and limited to 1. All right, so Sean does have the Death Star up and running here. A faster start for both players, each of them getting locations or sectors in hand at the start of the game. All right, so Mara to Endor with Ozzel aboard. That's 2 Battle Destiny, immune to less than 4. Ozzel adds 2, making it power 7. So 7 and 2 Battle Destiny. Ozzel forfeits for 5 there. Plus you have the Endor text, which requires them to pay +1 for each ship they deploy there. It's a fairly safe setup. He's not going to move his Death Star. He's going to leave it orbiting Endor. So he could use the capacitors here because TTO's on table. He can add a Destiny at the Death Star or the system that it orbits. So that's basically 3. So that's 3 Battle Destiny there. DDM is just going to activate 3. He's going to use Echo Base Garrison to go pull somebody. Really just checking his deck here, probably before he Walklings. And we'll see what he's interested in using Walkling for. He did not use a new secret base at the start of his turn. Perhaps he did not want to shuffle his deck. He wanted to make sure something was still there and wasn't the 1 card he saved. And since he goes ahead and activates the rest of his force, that 1 card he saved just might be what he was looking for, whether it's EBO or something like Haven. Could be a space weapons deck and he was looking for Slain and Corporal facilities or something like that. Alright, there's General Wallix. This particular guy is the guy who limits Battle Destinies when he's at the War Room. Systems where you have 2 piloted snub fighters, and snub fighters are basically any fighter that has a letter in its name. A-Wing, B-Wing, X-Wing, Y-Wing, and Z-95s. Opponent may draw no more than 1 Battle Destiny, but you can't cancel it. And they have to use +1 force to move an Imperial starship away. Okay, so he gets Commander Luke out. There's the EBO. So DDM's up and running, Sean's up and running, and we're at the end of turn 2 here. Nice, we're being spammed. That's cool. No, I don't want to buy followers. Get the hell out of my chat. Let's ban all these clowns. Belugo. Thank you for that, sir. Somebody mentioned something before about the sound being a little off, so I just want to double check, make sure my sound is better than previous. All right, so he got EBO out. Now he's got Haven, and he's going to drop a Tanev and a Bright Hope, which, as I mentioned earlier, will be protected by Riken from being shot at if there's a super laser that comes into play. Walax moves back to the war room. Doesn't apply anything extra yet, but for now he is just another general, which gives you +1 more power at Hoth locations. And for now he's going to shuttle Commander Luke up, give himself an extra pilot, a little bit more power. Possibly something that he could then forfeit and always wackling back if necessary, and then just repull with Garrison. Keep him up here until he gets the speeder out, which Luke can do next turn, but just for now, you know, it's a low risk play. It's very unlikely Darkside's come into Hoth. Oh, he does have a super laser, so Sean will get the super laser. Now the question is, does Sean know what Riken does, or is he about to run into an unfortunate interaction here? DDM's going to use strike planning, which I guess he didn't use yet, to get his generals out. Now he's going to get General Kraken. Sounds like DDM had a lot of his pullable stuff in his opening hand or in his first draw. It's always a little tricky with EBO as well when you can pull multiple cards into hand, especially on like turn 1, turn 2. You almost don't want to pull some of it right away sometimes because you don't want to risk getting your hand up over 12. It's like, I'm going to pull 2 locations and 2 generals, and you started with 8, so you're already at 12, and then you're like, well, if I don't deploy, if I just put the 2 sites down, then I can only draw 2 cards of like the 7 or 8 force activated. So Sean will go ahead and pay to drain. DDM did pull battle plan. DDM certainly feels confident with a speeder package with Echo Base Garrison that he can hold the 4th marker relatively easily between Luke and Wedge. You shouldn't have much trouble with that. He is going to lose the Hear Me Baby that he just played to play the battle plan shield, and then throws away the Kraken as well. He unleashed the Kraken. He lost the Kraken, is what really what it comes down to. There's the super laser. So Kraken just really just an extra pilot, an extra general that you can pull. Possibly draws by himself if he's alone at a site. Maybe there's another scout or spy that he would pair up with to do a second destiny. But like Luke isn't a scout or anything, so. Alright, there's the support ship, the reacting ship. Also going to load up at Endor. Sean's got to get that TTO damage going. The question is just going to be where does he think he can do it? Like I said, he's not going to go to Hoth. I guess he's looking for his own system. He's going to play Point Man. Take a look at what's in his force pile. Choose the card he absolutely needs the most, and then see if there's anything else potentially there that's worth drawing for. He's only got 8 cards. He'll have 8 cards in hand after he picks one. And the Moff is still just hanging out at the docking bay. Be curious to see where he ends up going with him. Whether it's sometimes people they put the capital here and then shuttle him up and then move the capital just to get the extra pilot power forfeit thing going. DDM does get relatively unprotected with Walkling, so that will potentially limit the TTO damage to 1. He has to occupy 2 battlegrounds, though, or the opponent's site. So I'd be curious to see. He should be able to hold 2 systems, but he also does have the option, you could do like Wedge and Speeder to the docking bay, which is, as I was starting to say, I'd be curious to see which way DDM goes with Moff, whether he's going to try and docking bay transit him over and back up this site with whatever, his ground package might be, just to hold a battleground site so he doesn't have to pay to drain, or if he's going to find a way to, move him over and or shuttle him up and then move, that kind of thing. Sean's going to take Enter the Bureaucrat with a Fanfare shield pull. So when he gets drained for 3 at Hoth, he can slap that on there, and now he'll only lose 1 going forward at Hoth, unless DDM has a control in his deck to cancel it. Star Wars Day, so we're using the Yoda mug, or as some people may call him now, Old Grogu. I apologize, I'm a little congested this morning. I should have taken care of that before I started streaming. Alright, so Echo Base Garrison, nothing to pull. Gives Sean a Verify. Luke will now spend a Force and go pull a Speeder. And there's a Trade Federation Tactics being played to go get the Invisible Hand. So both sides so far being very deliberate, very patient with what they're doing. Both kind of knowing just what kind of damage potential the other one has. Alright. DDM will drain for 3. And Sean's going to lose a Decree Virtual. We shall double our efforts, which is not going to do anything with Relatively Unprotected coming out. And he will top deck something special planned for them. And now play the Enter the Bureaucrat. If you just lost more than 2 force to a drain, deploy on opponent's locations. Only works on opponent's locations, keyword there, so if they take over your location and start draining you for more, you can't use it. You lose no more than 1 force, 2 force drains here. At any time, you can place this in your used pile to draw 2 cards from the top of your reserve deck. The other thing to note is that you don't have to deploy it on the location that you got force drained at. So sometimes if, if they're at your location and they drain you for 3, you can play this to block another drain somewhere else. So in this kind of weird scenario there, if he had like taken the docking bay here and he had something to add and he drained for 3 at the docking bay, you can't play Enter the Bureaucrat on the docking bay to protect it because it's your location. But you could then play it on Hoth, so when he then drained you at Hoth, it would only be limited to 1. Weird scenarios like that sometimes do come into play. DDM is going to just load up at the 4th marker here. We know he's got Wedge in hand because he took him earlier. Luke's up here on the ship, so I'm sure he'll drop Wedge and then shuttle Luke down. And that'll be pretty well locked down. You'll have 12 power. You'll have Luke, who draws 2 if unable to otherwise. You'll have Wedge, who if the opponent draws more than 1 Battle Destiny, you can cancel one of the extra ones. He deploys Wedge in space, because Wedge deploys for 3, but he's -1 from EBO to system locations, and -1 from Haven as well. So EBO deploy -1, drains +2, total power +3, but that's only during battles. So you don't always see it reflected in the totals on Jemp. Same thing with this here. Your total power is +X in battles at Hoth locations, So you look at him right now and you're saying, oh, he's power 12 here. Oh, that's not so bad. I'll battle that. And then they get +3 from EBO and +2 more from the generals. Now suddenly it's 17 to whatever your power is, and you're like, now I'm going to peel some extra damage. That maybe wasn't the smartest thing. But yeah, so he gets Wedge out for 2. Then he'll shuttle him down for free because of Riken's text. Same and related rebel base locations. Your rebels move for free to same or related locations. So shuttling up and down from the ships and the sites is free. We got a Corran Horn and Rogue 9. So that was only limiting the damage to 1, which isn't even started yet, because the Death Star is still orbiting Endor here. And there comes Wedge down for free, and then he'll bring Luke down for free as well. So now he's got, like I said, 12 power, multiple destiny. Wedge also adds 1 to the Force drain here. While on Rogue 3, Force drains are +1. So he's only draining for 1 in space right now, but he is draining for 2 there. He does lose an Ice Storm from hand. Why did I feel like there was something that... And then there goes an out of commission off the top. Why did I feel like there's something that prevented Ice Storm? But maybe that's just on the dark side. Maybe it's the virtual 5th marker that stops Ice Storm. I thought it was something that was on like the main power generators or whatnot, but I don't know. Corran Horn and Rogue 9 also came down earlier. So Corran Horn gives it 4 ability. Weapon Destiny draws are -2 here. Makes it harder to shoot lots of things. And then while with a Snub Fighter, attrition against opponent is +1, and it's immune to less than 4. So making Weapon Destiny draws -2, I'm sure he's trying to disincentivize Sean from moving over. Hopefully he knows that his capitals are protected. But there's also the possibility of other, starship weapons, whether it be Mianda and his cannon or Baron and cannon. Those are things that we commonly see in TTO builds. Mianda has certainly become more popular because of his ability to shoot in the move phase, which is also very helpful if you're if they're trying to blow up your Death Star. They move to a sector, and then you can deploy Mianda, move in to follow them, and then shoot in the move phase and take their ship out. Hopefully. There's a good counter move here. Now that DDM has committed his speeder force to his own site, the 4th marker here, that frees up Sean to basically take his own docking bay to get around battle plan. So he's going to put a General Grievous there. Grievous has good flexibility in a deck like this for multiple reasons. He was a general who works with Imperial Command, which you're probably also planning to work with your admirals. We saw the Invisible Hand earlier, that him being on table makes the Invisible Hand add a Battle Destiny, so that gives you more strength in space. And if you happen to be playing against some type of mains deck, there's always a possibility that they top deck a lightsaber to your space damage, and then he can steal it, and then possibly make this site a little more secure. Be right back. All right. Hopefully that's a little better. All right. So Sean played a point man. Picked up his best card. DDM used Echo Base Garrison, and I'm guessing he's still not finding whatever he's looking for. So it's obvious that whatever he's really looking for is that bottom card of his force pile, because that's the one force he's been saving pretty much the whole game. Although, actually, come to think of it, he did use that force when he pulled Relatively Unprotected with Walkling, so he must have reshuffled the same card around, I guess, that he's been looking for on a previous turn and missed out on it. DDM will pull the Wise Advice Shield, and he's going to projection the docking bay. So Sean got drained here. Loses a second copy of Enter the Bureaucrat. Lateral damage and a control set for stun, all off the top. So he's saving all the cards in his hand. We've got the Redemption coming to Hoth now, and when deployed, you can deploy a non-maintenance rebel aboard from your lost pile, so he will get the Kraken back that he lost earlier. So he's retrieved the Kraken. With not really retrieving, it's just deploying from lost pile. So there's Kraken. There's a Mon Cal Admiral. And neither side wants to put out an extra system at this point. I think they're both just sort of content with where this game is going. Looking at life force counts, Kraken shuttles down, I guess, to give them some extra forfeit just in case. So Sean's got 21 down and 11 in hand for a total of 32 remaining life force. DDM has 25 down and 4 in hand for a total of 29 remaining life force. So Sean's slightly ahead, but as far as damage output goes, DDM is doing 3 to Sean's 2 per turn. Neither side is paying to drain anymore. They both have battle plan satisfied. And neither side seems very willing to want to do much more right now. I think they're both content to play the patient waiting game and kind of force the other one to try to do something. So as we said, DDM's doing 1 extra point of damage than Sean is per turn, but Sean's also slightly ahead in life force count. So if you can keep the damage output where it is, it'll take 4 or 5 turns before things have kind of flipped to the other side. At some point in time, we can imagine DDM's going to mass up a pretty large fleet at Hoth and then move to Endor, just kind of like in the movies. He's got the Mon Cal Admiral down now. While piloting a rebel capital, opponent may not modify or cancel your destinies, so that's important a little bit. You can still limit you to the number you can draw. But the big part with the Mon Cal Admiral here is your rebel starships may move 2 here for free. So you pay 1 to move the Tantive first, which costs +1 if you were going to Endor or something like that. And then you could send all these other ships you could move for free, avoiding the +1 from Endor. He's also an admiral, so that gives you the ability to play leadership to limit your opponent to just one destiny. Sean drains for 2 at Endor, which gets hit by an It Could Be Worse to absorb the damage. It does immediately get grabbed. Now we see an image of the Dark Lord come out. That will limit the drain at the 4th marker to 1. So now it's 1 and 1 being done here. So now we're back to even. There's the 3rd system in play now. Here's Kashyyyk. And with 16 force available, we'll see just exactly what Sean is able to commit there before moving his Death Star. He's going to start with the Invisible Hand. Would I expect the other 2 speeders or just Luke and Wedge? Most likely just Luke and Wedge. They're obviously the 2 best guys. And in a deck like this, you're short on card slots as it is. So finding room for 4 other matching guys is pretty unlikely. The only other speeder you might see would be Dash and Rogue 10, who's got a natural built-in immunity, which also gets boosted by Garrison because it's got a matching pilot. So it's basically just a straight immune to less than 6 with the pilot capacity slot. You can throw anybody extra in it and have solid power. All right. So he drops Allegiant General Pride. He's going to move the blockade support ship over to give him some forfeit fodder. He's going to move the Death Star to Kashyyyk and have it orbit. So, as we mentioned earlier, Invisible Hand adds Destiny of Grievous is on table, so that's giving him a second battle destiny because he has enough ability to get the first one. And now that he's moving the Death Star over, he can also trigger the text on the second sector here, if it'll light up, to add a battle destiny. Remember, this is optional. It's an action. You have to declare it. So that's going to give him 3 battle destiny here. What does this particular guy do? Well, with a resistance character, adds a battle destiny. So if Rey or Solo or Poe show up, you get an extra draw there. And Emperor of Attrition, not really working there. And he is a general, so he's not going to work in space with something like Command. But gives him some extra forfeit. He's got 13 power, potentially 3 battle destiny, and it's TTO, so it should be pretty strong at this point. A lot of his other support cards are all on the table or in his hand. And you feel like you're safe there, 13 power, 3 battle destiny, but you're playing against EBO, and with 14 force, you certainly have the potential to drop, and everything deploying a -1 in space. You have the potential to drop 3 or 4 ships and battle here. Now, if he does move any capitals, he does have to worry, of course, about the super laser as well, which targets for free at the Death Star or system it orbits. You draw 3 destiny to be total then a greater than total defense value. So that would come into play with Corran Horn here if he moves over, because each draw would be -2. But thanks for the question, Andy. So we got a drain for 1 at Hoth and a drain for 1 at the marker site. Sean's going to lose a Kir Kanos, who lost some of his versatility in the last redo. There goes the Keter the Black as well. Kir used to be able to, if with another Imperial, cancel and interrupt once per game. Now he has to be present at a site to do it. It doesn't work in space. Used to be good to put him on a ship in space, and then you'd cancel their leadership, so then you could, draw your multiple battle destiny. But it was a little too easy to have him and like Thrawn just kind of hiding out together in space. Okay, so DDM takes a card with Luke, T47 in game text. He gets Walker Sighting, which immediately pulls a code clearance shield. Uh, this is the virtual version unless AT-AT or ATST out of Battleground. Retrieve 1 force for each rebel base location you control, limit 3. So he could just retrieve 3 force now. But by pulling it, he's obviously tipped his hand to his opponent. And it would get stacked on. So he would retrieve 3 the first time. It would get stacked on code clearance and make his retrieval for the rest of the game -1. Typically, you won't want to play that until at least until after you've used Walkling to do your retrieval. And if you're planning on doing any other type of retrieval in your deck, whether it's a General Leia, a Draw Their Fire, anything else like that, you kind of want to limit your options. It kind of pencils you in for how you have to play this around this card because of code clearance. The best way, of course, to use it is to not pull it. Your opponent doesn't have it out. You get the Walker Sighting through. You get the 3 retrieval. And then they go, oh, crap, and they pull code clearance. Okay, so now we've got an evac control coming out. So now we know he has the ability to limit. He is going to stack 3 cards. He stacks 2 ships and the effective repairs Starship Levitation combo, which lets you take a ship into hand if you just drew it for Destiny, as well as cancel some cool cards like Broken Concentration and Lateral Damage. And of course, thank you guys for tuning in on this wonderful Saturday morning, the first beginnings of our 2020 World Championships. Very excited to even be having the tournament, of course, this year, and to have 100 people sign up to play. We did have 2 players drop before the tournament, and looking at the early heat standings, it looks like one of the guys who started 0-2 also dropped out from the event already. But still probably the largest tournament we've hosted on GEMP, with 100 players signing up. Obviously broken up into 4 separate heats, so we don't completely melt the server. Because we know obviously there's also still people who are going to want to play other games as well. We don't want to restrict their ability to do it. Okay. So DDM's making a move here. He's going to drop a generic Corvette. He's going to pay 3 for it. Leads me to think he's going to be battling this turn. Otherwise, he would have just deployed everything into Hoth super cheap and then moved it over. So we'll see what he's got up his sleeve and see if that 1 force that Sean saved is for a barrier. But if DDM is not planning on battling this turn, then yeah, everything should have gone to Hoth to make it cost almost free. Unless he absolutely needs to spend a few force to make sure, obviously he moves some cards around. And then we've got a Calfal sighting. For those of you unfamiliar with Calfal, both players draw only 1 battle destiny and yours is higher. Reduce their destiny to 0. So you both draw 1. Your draw is higher. Calfal resets it to 0, which I believe gets around evac control, preventing it from being modified because you're not, well, actually, I don't know. This is where you get to the weird prepositions as to, is a reset a modification because you're not really redrawing or reducing it. And I'll be honest, I don't remember exactly which way all those little wording things go. So we're going to find out when when we get our battle happening here. There's an Anakin Skywalker on the Redemption. Redemption's like armor 6, so that's pretty solid. But yeah, I mean, well, he's not getting a Destiny draw here yet. He's only ability 2. So if he has anything else to put there, he could battle it Kashyyyk. He'll have, 9 or 10 base power plus 3 more from EBO, so they'd be about even. Picks up a card with evac, and possibly makes his opponent either lose the ship or the general, and then move a couple guys over. It'll be interesting to see. There's Raddus going to the Bright Hope. It's going to be very interesting to see how he moves these guys around. Because if Raddus is going to be on the Bright Hope, then you're thinking, I know he's trying to split his pilots up so he makes less appealing targets for whatever might get shot at by this Death Star super laser. The question is going to be how he's going to move. You assume he's going to move Khorne, because that'll subtract 2 from each of the draws. Maybe that makes enough of a difference to keep a ship alive. But you'd also have to assume he'd want to take at least one admiral with him. So if he's going to take the Tanev's going to the Death Star. Okay, so he's going to try and spread wide. So he's got the Mon Cal Admiral. There goes Khorne in the Rogue, moving over to help protect the Corvette from possibly getting shot. And he's going to leave the Bright Hope and the Redemption at Hoth. Now there are multiple reacting light side ships. We see Red 8 is one of them that's sitting over here, which obviously if Bright Hope also goes to Kashyyyk, so he's just going to leave the Redemption, I guess, with Anakin at Hoth. He's got the Bright Hope to trigger the Corvette, to trigger off the Corvette to draw the Destiny and subtract it with battle with another Rebel capital. Draw Destiny, subtract that from opponent's attrition and total power. So you can evac to limit them to 1, which you're not modifying the draw, you're modifying the total. So then that also works there. So it's kind of an interesting combination with Cal Fal there, because they draw Destiny, you modify it and reduce it to 0, and then because they drew a Destiny, they have a total, so then you can draw Bright Hope and then subtract it further. If they don't draw Destiny at all, you cannot use the Bright Hope, because even though it says total power and attrition, because they have not drawn a Battle Destiny, they have no attrition, so it's another little wording thing. But the Tantive, like I was starting to mention earlier, the possibility of 3 reacting starships. You've got Tycho and his ship, Red 8 that we see over there, and the Spiral. And they all deploy for -1 from EBO. So Spiral only costs 1 to deploy here as a react. Tycho, I think, will cost 2. And getting Tycho there obviously also gives him the ability to start moving into the sectors if you wanted to try and go blow up the Death Star to win the game, which looks like he may need to do, because right now DDM has a lot more cards on the table and he's a little behind in the damage. can't quite see it, we'll give you some life force counts. Sean sitting at 19 in life force plus 6 in hand. DDM also has 6 in hand, but only 12 in life force. He just got drained for 2 and lost a power harpoon and an ice storm. This was the drain at Endor. He's going to get pinged for 1 from that thing's operational. It's normally 2, but it's reduced to 1 because of relatively unprotected. And he will top deck a Poe Dameron. Sean only activated 12, so he saved himself 7 destiny. He'll need 3 to shoot the super laser, and then I guess he left himself room to draw multiple battle destiny, just to kind of force DDM to have to use one of his justice pulls. There's a Darth Vader. There's a Grand Admiral Thrawn. So I think we're going to have our first battle here coming up soon. This is Vader Virtual, who can subtract 2 from a just drawn destiny. And then you've got Grand Admiral Thrawn here, who is just an admiral. Not really doing anything else special there. Sean does check his destiny, which DDM will get to verify. Probably going to be pretty good at this point. Maybe there's still a pilot or a ship or something floating around in there. Doesn't look like he's doing matching ships, though, so far from what we've seen with Mara, with the Invisible Hand, with the blockade support ship. He does pay 1 to initiate battle. We'll see if there's any type of react from David. He will react to the spiral there for 1, giving him a little more power and forfeit. Then we'll have to see which super laser is going to fire at the Bright Hope. So each of these draws will be -2, but this thing's only armor 4, so I'm sorry, he has to be with another one, doesn't he? Oh no, weapon destiny draws are -2 here. Okay. It's curious to see that it didn't subtract the 2 from the draw. Did that not work? Weapon destiny draws are minus. Alright, I'm going to guess this is a weird interaction because the super laser technically isn't here, so the weapon destinies are being fired from an adjacent location. And that's why it's not subtracting from them. Kind of like when you're shooting into a battle. Like when you're shooting at the center or something from an adjacent site. The draws aren't -6. So I'm going to guess that's what the interaction is here, and that's why Corran Horn really didn't do anything. So the Bright Hope is hit. I think even if the draws had been modified, it still would have been hit because the first one would have been a 3 and the second one would have been a 2, which would have been 5, which would have been greater than the defense value. So it would have gotten shot anyway. But yeah, that's just I think that's the interaction there. And then DDM will pick up, he's going to pick up the Han Chewie Falcon. And now he's curious why he can't use the Bright Hope. Because you don't use the Bright Hope until after you draw Battle Destiny for both sides. I don't know if I'm allowed to chat. Sean's going to tell him. Good on you, Sean. You have to wait for the draws first. Okay, so Sean draws his 1 destiny, and it's a Neimoidian Advisor for a 5. David draws a Profundity for a whopping 1, which he does not appear to have the ability because the effective repairs combo is still on Justice. Now there's a power total calculation. Now he gets to use the Bright Hope to draw and subtract. And he does draw the Dash and Rogue 12 that we had talked about earlier, which Vader can modify because it's not the Battle Destiny draw, it's a separate draw. So Vader subtracts 2 to make that 0, so there's no reduction. So Lightside has to lose 5, which is the ship that got hit because it's not forfeit 0, along with the guy on it. And Darkside has to lose 1 attrition, and they lose Allegiant General Pride. Lightside forfeits Radis and the Bright Hope. That was a productive battle for Sean. TTM is going to use his Walkling pull here, and he will pay 1 to retrieve the Bright Hope. We know he also has the Walker sighting in hand, so he's got the ability to retrieve 3 additional force. And Sean will now pull Resistance because he's on 3 battlegrounds, so he'll limit the drain at the Death Star to just 2. Does Imperial Artillery work with the Super Laser to cause a force loss in control phase? I forget the exact text on artillery. You have to have a weapon at a location you control, I think. So if you were controlling the Death Star, I think you could use artillery to ping with the Super Laser, but without having the actual card right in front of me. But I think that's the text on it. I think it's if you have a weapon, a non-lightsaber weapon at a, maybe it says battleground you control. I'm not sure about that. Technically right now the Death Star is just battleground because of the Tantive, but you wouldn't control it if the Tantive is there. Maybe if you had like Presence of the Force or something. Alright, so DDM activates all of it. He will do his draining, so now he's doing 1, 1, and 2, so he's doing 4 total damage. Right now his opponent is doing 3 total damage. There goes the Zuckuss off the top. Yeah, this doesn't look like he's doing too much of the matching stuff. He's doing the ships with the permanent pilots. He loses a command, and now Sean will lose 2 more. There goes a masterful move, and the Nemoidian Advisor that he drew for Destiny last turn. I expect we'll see DDM play his Walker sighting here to retrieve 3. And we'll see what other ships he may have lurking in hand. We know he's got a Han Chewie Falcon that he picked up off of evac control. The question will be as to where he wants that to go. Both guys doing okay on time so far. DDM still has 20 minutes left. Sean's got 31. Yeah, weapon has to be at a battleground, so that's what Kyle's thinking. I'm assuming that's Kyle is thinking. So it probably doesn't work. But again, if you had like Presence of the Force or something on the Death Star, then maybe you could do it. But it seems a little. It's unlikely to happen. We'll leave it at that. All right, there's the other reacting ship, Tycho in Green 3 that I mentioned earlier. He does add 3 to his epic event Destiny draw total, plus his 2 abilities, so that would be 5, plus 1 for controlling the sector, would be 6. So you'd really just need to draw a 3 if he blew it up. Kind of curious to see why he didn't just drop Tycho here and make a run in. He does still have enough time left to possibly to pull it off. This one I don't quite understand. He moves Riken over, so he'd occupy 4 locations. I don't know if DDM read the card and saw that it said limit 3. I don't know if he was trying to get extra force retrieval out of it or where exactly he was going with that. But he will retrieve. The Walker sighting will get stacked, and he will get his 3 cards back. No, the Death Star is not at the system it orbits. The Death Star is its own system, which is why earlier the Corran Horn thing with the Destinies didn't work. Corran Horn didn't subtract from the Super Laser Destiny draws because the Death Star and the Super Laser are over here, not at Kashyyyk. They're adjacent to Kashyyyk, I guess, would be the closest way to describe it. So Sean's got 15 plus 4. David's got 14 plus 4. So 1 force difference between them right now. And DDM is doing more damage. We've got 1, 1, and 2, so he's draining for 4. Sean's doing 2 and 1 ping, so Sean's doing 3 damage. So David's got 1 fewer card, but he's doing 1 more point of damage right now. And he does still have these 2 cards stacked over here on evac, so if he continues to battle, he can get these 2 cards off there to give him life force to play with or lose. You are very welcome, Andy. Thanks for asking the question. We'll take a while we're waiting to see what they do. See if there's. I'm just going to use my phone here and go on the PC forum site and just see if there's any Game 3 results yet. Yep, we have some games that are already over. So Kendall got the bye. He won. Brad Reinhold beat Kyle McLean. Matt Lutz beat Mason Gilligan. James Martin beat Timo. Paul Myers beat Justin Branch. Ricard Erickson beat Darren Mallins. And Bastion beat Kieran. So both of these players are 2 and 0 here. Bastion and Kieran were 2 and 0, and Zemowit and Tom Kelly were both also 2 and 0. They're still playing, it looks like here. So we'll have 3 undefeateds in this pod, or in this heat, after this round. Bastion being one of them, the winner of this game being the other one. Bastion was dark side. So depending on who wins these particular matchups, we could have, if they're all on the same side, we could have a bunch of pair downs where you'll have all the guys who are 3 and 0 getting paired down to play guys who are 2 and 1. But if one of the two light side players wins, which would be David or Tom Kelly, then they would be matched up against Bastion in the next round. David throws away his Tatooine system and loses the effective repairs combo. Looks like he's got 2 of them. Okay. And then he loses the Ice Storm, which I think was a card he retrieved with the Walker sighting. Now the question becomes, does Sean have any ships left? He saved 6 Destiny, which means he's likely to be shooting at something again. He's going to force push. He's got 9 cards in his force pile to choose from, so whatever possible ship he might have left. We already lost Zuckuss. We've got the Invisible Hand, the Blockade Support ship, Marin ship. So the question would be as to what does he have left? Could be something like a Boba Fett and ship or something like that. Perhaps he's got Meanda and he's going to try and piece it together now here. Admiral Trench making an appearance. If he has any ship in hand that he could deploy to the Death Star in battle and then use the super laser to shoot down the Tantive, that could certainly go a long way to limiting the damage output. So Lando is there. Lando would get to retrieve a force and add it to Lando's power, but because of code clearance, the retrieval is reduced by 1 to 0, so Lando no retrieving. But Lightside is getting 2 Battle Destiny here, unless they want to evac their own draw. And we see a couple of high destiny here. That's going to be enough to hit the spiral. So that's going to take a big chunk of power out and an extra battle destiny. Draws U3PO, Tarkin's Bounty, and Grand Moff Tarkin, virtual, for a total of 11. I'll have to remember to use the sector to add the additional destiny draw. Let's see what we come up with. DDM plays leadership to take an admiral or general into hand. If the way he retrieved cards, Radis would have been near the top. And since Radis, I think, is Destiny 0, isn't he? No, he's Destiny 2. He just deploys for 0. He's going to pull Radis out of the deck. So Sean used the capacitors to add a Battle Destiny, but it didn't add one. Who is stopping that? Not Lando. Not Calfal. He didn't pick up a card. He does send Trench to the used pile to make that starship immune to attrition for the rest of the turn. Command was played to limit the light side here. So now they're both just drawing 1. What am I missing? Why didn't Darkside get to add the Destiny from the capacitors? What was limiting Sean to 1 Destiny? Ah, yes. Walex Blissix. There's the guy. He's got 2 snub fighters. Thank you. I knew I was missing something, obviously. I forgot he's got the 2 ships together now. That's why I wasn't working earlier, because he just put down Tycho this last turn. Alright. So it's 23 to 21. DDM's total battle destiny is 0. As he drew Poe Dameron for Destiny, which Vader then subtracted from, making it a 0. So Darkseid loses nothing from the location, but they did lose the battle by 2 power. So they have to lose 2 force, which might at this point in the game be almost as bad. To have to lose 2 cards in a game that's so tight. He does lose Arica off the top. And loses Imperial Justice as well. And now he will draw a couple cards from his force pile. Okay. Tom Kelly did win over Zemowit. So he and Bastion potentially could square off, depending on the winner of this game. Could play one of them. The third will get paired down. Looks like we just have 2 or 3 games left going in this round. There goes a second copy of Barris ship. Sean literally could be at the point where he has no other ships left. There goes a Gravity Shadow. And he's going to control to cancel the drain at the Death Star, so he'll lose 1 instead of 2. Life Force counts. DDM at 12 plus 3, Sean at 9 plus 3. So DDM has slightly pulled ahead here in the damage race thanks to that 2 extra battle damage. And since he's out damaging Sean 4 to 3 a turn and he's got slightly more cards left in Life Force, we can safely say he's ahead in this game, and now it's going to be up to Sean to do something different. And I don't know that he has the ability to do that at this point. I don't know what possible ships and things he's got left. And now DDM's going to go block the Endor drain with a Han Chewie Falcon. That is the virtual Han Chewie Falcon, by the way. Not the, I'm sorry, the non-virtual version, the old school version, not the one that adds Destiny to power and is immune. This is the one that adds a Battle Destiny draw. Let's see how he wants to handle this, whether he wants to be the one initiating the battle and draw on multiple Destiny here. Yes, he does. Now we know he played the leadership last turn. I don't know if he played any other interrupts besides that he would know what he's going to draw here. He is going to pick up a card. You probably want to take the ship. Now, it looks like DDM wanted to change his mind, but once you kind of commit to that, there isn't an option to change your mind in GIMP for some things. Some things it gives you the option to cancel. Other things, once you've initiated the action, you are kind of locked into picking up the card. Now, David's asking about a revert. If only someone from the Hall of Fame were watching and could advise us. So they're going to allow a revert. Yeah, I had to try to type in the chat. Only an administrator can. I don't have all those features. I don't have full admin access, so I can't type in the chat during the game. So they're going to do a quick revert. I'll put the card back. Looks like I went back to the beginning of the battle. Now we got to get into a little bit of a clock situation here. David still has 11 minutes left, but he's going to need to get the hamster back on the wheel, running a little faster to pick up the pace. So he passes his action. He's not going to evac. Tarkin is there with Ozzel. Tarkin's going to draw a third Destiny. All right, so he's got a power harpoon. And I'm going to guess this is the leadership that he put back that he did last turn, right? So this is going to be a 9. Yeah. So he's got a total of 9, which will clear both pilots off of the ship. But Darkseid's drawn 3 here, so you got to assume the Falcon's going to die as well. And he draws a total of 10. Almost makes you wonder if it would have worked out better the other way. I don't know what his plans are for this extra 3 force, but if he had the ability to pay the upkeep on the Falcon, he battles, you know, he just draws the 5. I mean, this thing is already, what, power 9? Plus 3 is 12, so he draws a 5 and he gets to 17. and his opponent would have only drawn a 2 for Battle Destiny. So we're looking at 17 to 9. So he's still down 8 power, and then you can pay the upkeep and keep the Falcon alive. But Riken moves back to the War Room because he wasn't doing anything otherwise. Now, it would be very curious. Kraken's going to get out. I think I see where he's going with this. If he puts Kraken in with, is he just going to shuttle Kraken up and then move the Redemption over? See, what I was thinking was, yeah, Kraken's going to get in with Luke. He doesn't have enough force left to do it though, because Riken, oh, he's moving to the. He moves the speeder to the docking bay. All right, so I guess he can docking bay transit next turn to move it over here in front of Grievous and possibly Battle. I was thinking he was going to move it up to the Redemption and then move the Redemption over here and then shuttle it down, but he's 1 force short of doing that too. Because Riken wasn't at the War Room, because that was a mistake earlier. So DDM looks to be ahead and in the driver's seat of things. Sean's going to hang on and keep it close, but David's probably going to win by like 5 or 6 at this point, unless he runs out of time, because he seems to be taking an exuberant amount of time between each action. We'll have to blame that on the spotty European Wi-Fi coverage. Or he's just really thinking about each individual action. So he moves those ships over to the Death Star, keeping his starfighters together. So David's telling him what his plan is now, that how he's gonna move people. So he moves these guys over here to the Mon Cal Admiral for free. He's gonna move the Tantive to Endor, which is gonna cost him 2, his remaining force, and then he should be able to move the Corvette to Endor for free because of the Mon Cal Admiral's text. So he wanted to tell him what his plan was, just in case it didn't work as intended, that he would be okay to revert it, which Sean says, yes, that's fine. But it does work the way it's intended. So now he's basically did all that, shuffling all those people around, and ends up in a situation where he's still taking the same amount of damage, 3. He's just less likely to get his stuff shot at. But yeah, David's still ahead. 14 total life force to Sean's 12. But again, now time is starting to become a factor as David's down to 7.5 minutes. And Sean's best chance of winning this game may just be for David to run out of time. You also have to think if you're Sean at this point, you've got to move them off to Grievous. It's pretty clear Luke's coming here. Does it cost plus 2 here? Requires plus 9 force. So I don't think he's actually going to end up going there. I think he did this the wrong way. Because it would cost him 10 to move there. Because they move for free only to same and related locations. It does not make your docking bay transit free. So I don't know where the heck this Lucan speeder is going. Alright, Sean does have Marek Steel, the Emperor's Reach. So that will get him an extra pilot, some extra power, some extra forfeit, and an extra battle destiny. P-59 making an appearance. This thing is maneuver 6 because Wedge does add to it. It's immune to less than 6. It's a card from a hand that blocks a drain. I don't know that I like this move. He's going to run away. Oh, this is... Yeah, Sean's in deep trouble here. I mean, he was already in deep trouble. Let's leave it at that. But now he's in a big spot where he's going to get beat up. Unless that's a 6 he's been tracking around, a Trade Federation Tactics or something that can shoot Wedge, cause some force loss, and limit this drain. Um, I mean, he's looking at it's 8 to 4. He does move over to block control of the system to make it 1 less power. But he's going to lose 4 cards to force drains here again, taking him down even further. And then he's, well, looks like he's only going to get battled in 1 spot because David only saved 1 force. This is Anakin on the Redemption. I guess he's not going to battle at the system. It's going to take Sean down to just 6 force remaining. David sitting at 11. Yeah, David's got a lot of options here. Obviously, if he knows it's a strong destiny, he can battle and get rid of P-59, possibly cause a little overflow. I don't know if we've seen Sean lose the Gick yet. I think that's probably still the card he's kept in hand this whole time. We know he pulled it turn one with the Masterful Move. Yep, there's Radis. So it looks like he's probably just going to battle in space, pick up a card off of Evac, giving him one more force to lose to possible drains. He'll have 12 power to Sean's 8. Draw a decent Destiny and just sort of outpower it and kind of force it to lose that way, and then move Luke back over. If Sean draws low, he loses Raditz. He also has Anakin there as well. But Anakin adds to the draws, not to the total like Rey does, so that won't work with Evac out. Yep. Levit to 8. Picks up the reacting ship. So he's got a 3 power advantage right now. They both draw 1 Destiny. Only a 2. So Sean's going to need a 5 to not take any battle damage here. It's a 6. So he did have a 6 available. It's an Emperor. So he could have potentially... Now he can shoot Wedge. But he won't have a Battle Destiny to draw. So TDM's going to lose Anakin. Getting down. He's got under 5 minutes left on his clock now, so time continues to be a factor here, and Sean's only glimmer of hope at this point is that David runs out of time. He battles on the ground with no Battle Destiny. I'm not quite sure what he's going for here. Is he going to pick up that last card off the Evac just to give him an extra card in hand? Does he open Sean draws low? Was he tracking Sean's Destiny? And this is Tarkin or something? It's Tarkin's bounty. So he ends up losing the battle by 2. He's immune to the attrition, but he still has to lose 2 cards. That's a head scratcher, folks. That's a head scratcher. Not sure what he was going for there, unless he was just hoping that his opponent had some low Destiny cards left. He's going to play It Could Be Worse, so he's got a second copy of It Could Be Worse. He's saying stupid me, so maybe he didn't realize he didn't have any cards left to draw for Battle Destiny. I don't know. I don't know what David was thinking, but It Could Be Worse the damage. He's gonna pay 2 to stack it, and then pay 2 to reduce the force loss, which obviously would have helped him more at the end. Likely actions here would be to shuttle up General Kraken, have him get off of Rogue One here, shuttle up for free because of Riken, then the speeder moves, Luke moves back over. I'm not really sure what this play was either. I don't know if he thought maybe the docking bay transit would be free, and he could move over here in front of Grievous and beat up on Grievous. He's going to move the Tantive back over. He's going to move Corran Horn back over. Well, obviously, with only one card in hand, which we are pretty safe to assume is the Gick, um, and 5 force left, he knows Sean's not deploying anything at this point, so he can go a little thin at these extra systems. He can't afford to move Luke over to Endor because this docking bay costs 1 to docking bay transit. It's not free like some of the other docking bays, and your transit 2 here requires +9, so we'd have to pay 10, and he doesn't have 10 force to docking bay transit over. Riken only makes it free when moving to related locations on Hoth, so docking bay transit off Hoth also does not work. But yeah, Lightside got screwed on free docking bays until the Home 1 docking bay came out. They always had to pay 1 for everything, whereas Darkside got conditional freeze for things. I'm wondering if David thought it was also free when he moved Luke over there to begin with. This makes absolutely no sense either. he knows what he's going to draw. It's the 4, so he takes the guy out who can get shot. If you get him out, shuttle him up. Otherwise, leave him in. Now he's going to lose extra cards. He takes drain the 2 plus a 1 TTO loss, taking him down to 6 plus 1. P59 is going to battle and is going to shoot Wallix here. It's going to cause 2 more force loss. David just might run out of time. And good morning to our additional viewers who have joined the chat. Good morning, Scott. We know that's the no escape. He's going to draw that to shoot General Kraken, causing 2 more force loss. Sean doesn't battle. Wow. Instead, he's just going to move to Endor to block that drain with the invisible hand. And Mara's going to move to the Death Star to block. Oh. The blockade ship moves to the Death Star. He's going to move Mara to there. I would have battled. You have the Gick in hand. You cause the 2 extra force loss, takes him down to 4. Which might still be enough to squeak it out. I don't know. At the very least, it causes your opponent to have to take through a bunch more actions, which runs their clock down even further. Kind of real nail biter here, though. I think this is probably the last game at this point. And you know me, love picking those long game. So he's going to drain for 1 at Hoth, the only damage that he's doing. And there goes the no escape. So now the 6 is on top. So if David battles here, alright, I guess this is what he was setting up. If David battles here, he can draw the 6 now and shoot. I would shoot Wedge to make the force drain -1. So make him back to being able to drain for 0 here. But there's red 8 going here. He pulls the do or do not shield, I guess just because he can. But yeah, David's going to time out. Unless Sean concedes before then. I don't see how he's going to go through all the motions and finish this game up in that limited amount of time. So he's going to battle at the Death Star first. He's going to force his opponent to draw the 6 for Destiny here. And in doing so, he's going to clear both ships. Oh, he's only drawn 1. Nope, he's only drawn 1 because he's got the 2 snub fighters together. He's still going to draw the 6, which will still clear both ships, because Tycho only forfeits for 5. There's the Profundity, which he's not going to... He just picked up the effective repairs combo. He's not going to swap them, because I guess he needs the extra card to draw his second Battle Destiny somewhere else. So there's the 6. Thrawn dies, the ship stays. Lightside loses both ships and burns another 20 seconds off their very precious clock. Now down to 1 minute and 9 seconds left for DDM. Yes, Kyle, I definitely agree. He is going to battle there with only one destiny left. Kraken's going to get shot and cause 2 force loss for sure. David's going to have to lose 2 cards here. But more importantly, it's also going to cost him more time. And there goes the Power Harpoon from the used pile as well. We get an Irrelevant Battle Destiny, which is that Poe Dameron for like the 5th time. I'm not sure what this one is. This is the last card I think we haven't seen yet. I think the Tarkin's Bounty's underneath it. Oh, it's Trench that he put back. So he's got Tarkin, Trench, the Emperor, and Tarkin's Bounty as his 4 remaining cards left. Kraken goes away. P-59 goes away. Sean plays the Gik. Yep. So now it's Sean at 4, David at 5. David only has 1 force left. He can move the Mon Cal Admiral and then follow if he wants to move to Kashyyyk. Yep. And then he can follow with one of the other ships. So Sean will just get the 1 ping damage is all he can do. But David's got 21 seconds left on his clock, so he's going to time out here. Sean's got 16 minutes on his clock. So you really can't say like, oh, it was a really close game and, this kind of thing. And time-wise, we were both taking our turns with actions. It's a pretty big gap. It's a 16-minute gap of playtime. Yeah. I don't think Sean's going to necessarily concede this one. There's the 1 force loss. David top decks a card. They're both at 4 life force remaining. He's going to send Enter the Bureaucrat used to draw up the 2 cards. So he draws the bottom card. So I don't know if he was tracking that around, what that was. If that was the Emperor, if that was Trench. I'll be honest, I stopped tracking Sean's deck a little while ago when I realized that the clock was really going to be the bigger deciding factor in this game. Blockade flagship moves over to back him up. And he says go. Yeah, I think if David had played a little faster, if he hadn't made one or two mistakes and along the way, I don't know if it's a lag issue. But there goes the timer. It was the Emperor he picked up. And he is going to run out of time, and Sean is going to win the game. Is the Invisible Hand build off TTO better than combat response? It's a little easier to set up. You have the Destiny 6 pullers, which are nice because then it gives you more high Destiny. It's kind of a playstyle preference. Certainly is fewer card slots, and you're not trying to match up specific things. It also lets you make sure you get the use the docking bay setup as your start instead of trying to start combat response and then you have to figure out like find a ship to put the Moff on, which may slow you down on turn one, or you have to do something like put him in the bunker where he's more exposed. So it's just a different playstyle preference. I'll say it's 6-5 that this version is just slightly probably more versatile, the Invisible Hand capital, than just a straight matching combat response starfighters. Although some versions we see kind of vary them both. So DDM saying he's very rusty and slow because it's been about a year and a half since he's last played. But it was certainly quite a tactical game, and I will agree with that. Very close game. Congrats to Sean on winning. He now has the possibility. He was on the same side as Bastion, so either he or Bastion will face Tom Kelly in the next game, and the other one will get paired down. So I am going to take a break here for a little while, go get some breakfast and stuff because it's been an early start to my morning. We'll be back at some point throughout the weekend doing other streams. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for following along on my channel. I appreciate that. Hopefully I'll be back to my regular Monday streaming sometime in the near future when my work schedule potentially eases up a little bit, but not looking like it right now. Congrats to Sean on picking up the win, and best of luck to everybody else going into Game 4, which should be starting in just a few minutes.